Frank was a highly prestigious lawyer in London who had never lost a case in court. One day, a man named Mike approached him. Mike had been implicated in a murder case and wanted to hire Frank as his defense attorney. Mike explained the circumstances to Frank. Not long ago, Mike had struck up a pleasant conversation with a middle-aged woman on the street. The woman invited him to her home as a guest. From the decor of her house, Mike could tell she was from a wealthy family. He then decided to leverage the wealthy lady's fondness for him to secure an investment for a small business venture. Over several days of companionship, the lady grew increasingly fond of Mike. However, before Mike could secure any funding, the lady was murdered around 10 p.m. the previous night. Since Mike had visited her home that evening, he became a murder suspect. Mike insisted to Frank that he had left the lady's house at 9 p.m., so he had nothing to do with the murder. Frank wasn't entirely convinced by Mike's account and began interrogating him under the assumption that he might be the killer. Frank even deliberately used the reflection from his glasses to unsettle Mike's thoughts. However, Mike's answers were remarkably sincere, so Frank dismissed his doubts and decided to take on the case as defense counsel. The problem was that Mike had no alibi. Only his wife could testify that he had indeed returned home at 9:30 p.m., but given their marital relationship, her testimony wouldn't carry much weight in court. Just then, Frank's friend brought disturbing news. The wealthy lady had drawn up a will before her death. To thank Mike for his companionship during that period, she had bequeathed him £80,000. Mike was thrilled to hear this and wanted to immediately share the good news with his wife. But as he reached for the phone, he suddenly realized that this will could establish his motive for murder. The police also received this information, and soon 2 detectives arrived to arrest Mike on suspicion of murder. Due to health issues, Frank was preparing to hand the case over to another lawyer, Vole. At that moment, Mike's wife Tina suddenly appeared. Strangely, Tina didn't seem devastated by her husband's arrest, which struck Frank as odd. Back in the office, Vole had already begun talking with Tina. She seemed well aware of her husband's relationship with the wealthy woman. Through Vole's questioning, Frank was shocked to discover that the testimonies provided by Mike and his wife were completely contradictory. To test his theory, Frank decided to use the same glass reflection technique on Tina. Unexpectedly, Tina immediately pulled down the curtains. Seeing his unique testing method thwarted, Frank explained that Mike was facing an unforgivable charge, so Tina couldn't provide testimony detrimental to her husband. From Tina's few words, it was clear she had no real affection for Mike. Nevertheless, before leaving, she stated that she would help Mike by providing an alibi, even if that proof wouldn't be convincing. Will Mike successfully escape conviction? This brilliant film is called Witness for the Prosecution.